Antonio Diaz, thank you very much for coming on to TheBoxingBar.com and welcome, my friend.
Thank you.
First question I ask everybody, where were you born and raised?
I was born in Michoacan, Mexico. Iquipa, Michoacan, Mexico. I was born over there June 13th, 1976, and I moved to California when I was 5 years old, and I've been here ever since.
And what was life like for you as a kid growing up there in the Coachella area?
Oh, it was great. It was great. I mean, I remember back in the days, well, everything was nice, and I mean, my parents are farm workers. I remember, growing up in a community where there was a lot of farm workers and just hanging in there and until we got older.
The biggest question, I guess, how did you find boxing? How did boxing find you? What was that first time like going to a boxing gym or training for the first time?
Well, the thing was my older brother Joel. He started following one of my cousins to a boxing gym. One day they invited him over and he decided to join, go there and check it out, and he liked it. Then he told us about it, and then we started following him. But the thing is, we lived about a mile and a half away from the gym, and he would ride his bike to the gym. So my dad would let me go one day, my brother Julio another day, my brother Jesus another day. So we each had our day to go to the gym. With Joel, Joel was going every day, but we had one day to go with him because he could only fit one person on the bike. So we started going, and our trainer at the time, which is Lee Espinoza back then, he saw potential in all of us. So as we got older, he said, you know what, he came and spoke to my father and told him, you know what, let me train your kids and I'll be in charge of them. I'll pick them up every day at 4:30, and I'll drop them back off at 7:30. So sure enough, he started doing that for a couple of years. He started doing that. He would go pick us up at 4:30, and then he would drop us back home at around 7:30. And he did that for a couple of years until Joel was old enough to drive. And then we started driving with Joel.
What made you like the sport, or what made you keep going or wanting to go? I mean, what attracted you to continue in this life?
I don't know. It was just the fact that you're able to punch the crap out of each other and punch somebody without getting in trouble. I think it was just it was just the fact that you're in the ring, you're punching, you're getting hit, and you're hitting somebody else, and people are getting excited, and I guess that's what attracted me.
What was your amateur career like? What was that like for you, and how did that help you?
You know what? My amateur career wasn't that great in the beginning. Little quick story. When I was younger, I grew up. It was myself, my brother Jesus, my brother Julio, and one of my cousins, Jose Vargas, and then a couple other kids. Chris Hernandez and Pedro Ochoa. They were some of the top fighters back in the days there at the gym. Every time we went to fight, 3 or 4 of us would fight. Everybody would win except me. Everybody would win except me. It kept going on like that for quite a while. I'll win. I'll win some here and there, but almost all the time the person that will lose is always me. So then one day when my career started changing, one day listen, I said, you know what, I'm not saying, just retire, just go to school, find a job, or do something, an after school job, whatever. I remember I was like 14, 15 years old, and then my dad would tell me the same thing. Hey, you're not good at boxing. Why don't you just hang up the gloves and I'll help you find another job or whatever. I remember my trainer, Lee Espinoza, didn't want to train me anymore. So then I was still going to the gym, and I was being trained by some other guy by the name of Tony West. Tony West was a professional fighter who didn't have a great career as a professional fighter. He was from Utah. He moved to the Valley, and he was training fighters here. He was boxing himself, but then after he retired, he was helping out in the gym. He started helping me out, me and a buddy of mine. And then we kind of overheard that our boxing club was invited to a little tournament, little show, California versus Utah. So nobody mentioned to me that I was going to go in there. What I did, my buddy and I, and the guy that was helping us train, Tony West, we started training ourselves. We started working. We started running. We started sparring. So the day before they were going to leave to the show, I remember I went and I asked Lee Espinoza, hey Lee, who's going tomorrow to Utah? He was telling everybody the times they were going to meet and where they were going to meet, what time they were going to get picked up. So I was like, Lee, so who's going? Oh, he goes, we're taking Jesus my brother, they call him Shaggy. He goes, oh, so Shaggy's going, Julio, Pedro, Chiquita, Jose Vargas, and Chris. Okay, so I looked at him and I said, hey, what about me and my buddy Alfonso? He goes, oh no, you guys haven't been training, you guys are not ready. I go, Lee, we've been training, we've been sparring, we've been running, we've been training. He goes, you're probably not even in weight. I go, yeah. He goes, how much you weigh? I go, I weigh 119. Let me check. So he checked the scale, checked me and my buddy, we were on weight. And this is what he said. This is what he said. You know what? I think we're gonna take you. We're gonna take you to 2 months. 2 months like a little, like not good, like not good. He goes, I'm gonna take you to 2 months because it's not gonna look good to have all winners, 5 out of 5. We have to have at least 1 or 2 losers. We'll take it to lose. Okay. I was excited. I was, I was young. I was gonna be one of the first times I was gonna leave the state of California. And then I remember going to the fight. The first kid, Chris, he fought, he lost. Second kid, Pedro, he fought, he lost. My brother Julio fought, he won. And then Pedro fought and he lost. Jose Chiquita Vargas, he lost. And Jesus fights the Golden Glove champion of Utah. He loses, gets qualified. I step in the ring. I stop the guy in the second round. My buddy steps in the ring. He stops the guy in the first round. So the 2 losers that were supposed to lose, we stopped the guys in the first and second round. We won. On the way back, that was like a little wake-up call, a little motivator. And then I came back, went to the JOs, the Olympics in '92. I won the districts, I won the regionals, I made it to nationals. I got, I think that year in '92, I was number 3 in the United States. I was ranked 3 in the U.S. at that time. And then from there on, it just kept coming. I started winning tournaments, which were the Blue and Gold Invitational, the Gene Lewis Invitational Tournament. Then I started winning more JOs, and then Golden Gloves. Then finally went professional in '95.
Wow, so when the lights were bright, that's when you were shining the best.
Yes, exactly.
And when did you decide to go ahead and turn pro after your amateur career was over? At what point did you say, it's time to hit the pros?
It was in '95 when I got back from Golden Gloves from the Nationals. I made it to Lowell, Massachusetts on Golden Gloves in 1995. When I got back, I was already 18, going on 19 years old. We had, my brother Joel was already a professional. And then we grew up with, with poverty. We didn't have money. My dad was working. And then back in around that time in '95, my mom got sick from cancer. She got cancer. She had a lymphoma. That's a tumor with cancer in the pancreas. So she was going through therapy. My dad was the only one working. He wasn't making a lot of money. Joel was working in boxing, and then to help my dad support, the family. We were 7 kids, and for my dad for himself to raise, it was pretty tough around that time because my mom was sick. She was always in the hospital. She was spent 3, 4, 5 months in the hospital, and then come on there another couple months. So I remember I was getting ready to graduate from high school. I was thinking of going to college, but then I saw the situation that was going on at home. So I was like, man, should I go to college? Should I stay home? Help the family? So I stayed home, started working in construction. At the same time, I said, I'm going to make some money. I saw the money Joel was making. He was making a little money here and there, and back in the day, it was pretty good money, in fighting. So I said, I'm going to stay and fight. So sure enough, I started fighting. I went undefeated a couple, 3, 4 fights. I lost one. I went undefeated another couple of fights, and I lost my second fight. Was I lost. It was my 8th or 9th fight. But after that, I went to the fullest. I went undefeated for 20 some fights, and that's when my career started changing. I started doing good.
That first time when you walked into the ring for the first time, your pro debut, was there a big change from the amateurs to the professional, or to you? Was it the same, or was there a big difference?
It was a big change. It was a big change, being that you have smaller gloves, the bigger wraps. Because in amateurs, you get so much wrap per hand. You have no headgear, which is better. You wear no shirt, and you have a lot of athlete in your face, all over your face. And it's a little tougher, but I think for me it was easier because you get to see the punches from every angle. You're more pumped up. There's a lot more fans in the professional business than there is in the amateur business. So just being in the ring and have thousands of people yelling your name out and cheering for you, and every time you hit, the people are on their feet, and I mean I think that's a pretty good motivator, pumps you up, and that's what kept me going. All the time.
And one of those early losses that you had, like about your 12th fight or so, when you fought Juan Lascano, later on he would go on to become a world champion himself. And what was fighting him like at that time? Was he a tough guy at that time?
You know what? Let me tell you a little story about that right there. I didn't know that I was supposed to fight Juan Lascano back then. Before that fight, a year before or something like that, a month before, Juan Lascano was actually training with us. He was getting ready for one of his fights at our gym with his trainers. So I remember him sparring my brother Joel, sparring Bunch of Segura, sparring some of the guys at him. He didn't impress me they had him as the next prospect, next superstar. Didn't impress me much. So I was like, all right, he's cool. So then my trainer told me, hey, you're fighting in Vegas this day at the Aladdin. All right. So, well, wait, you fight at 142. All right, so I remember I was on weight. The fight was on a Saturday. We left Vegas on a Friday morning to get to Wayne's. And when we got there, the promoter tells my trainer, Lee Espinosa, oh, Lee, I had just called you, and your wife told me you left. Back in the day, we didn't have cell phones. Your wife told me you just left. Bad news. What happened? He goes, Antonio's opponent fell. He didn't have an opponent. His opponent didn't want to fight, didn't make it. So we're like, oh man, so what's gonna happen? We just drove here, and then he goes, hey, well, we have another guy whose opponent also fell. I mean, we could match him up. We do that fight, and then we asked him, well, who? So this kid, Juan Lascano. So they, oh shit, I know Juan Lascano. I mean, he's trained with us. So yeah, but the thing is, Juan Lascano weighs 135. The fight has to be at 35, 36. I was like, man, I'm 142. I just made 142. So they want to fight. I mean, it has to be at 36. So Lee looked at me and told me, what do you think? I looked at him and said, we're here already. Let's do it. Fuck it. I mean, I've seen a color before. I think they're great. So sure enough, I went on my jean pants. I remember I asked one of the casino ladies, the cleaning people, to lend me a trash bag. I took off my shirt, put the trash bag on, put my shirt on. I started running on jeans around the casino for a while until I made weight. I made 136 and a half. The fight was going to be at 4 rounds. I was going to fight 4 rounds. They moved up to 6 rounds. So I was like, man, I thought I was being set up. So sure enough, I went, I fought. I beat the crap out of him. I left him. I mean, his face was all bruised up. I beat the crap out of him. There was times I had him in the ropes. I was patting and pounding the crap out of him and ready to stop him, but I wasn't in shape for 6 rounds. So I would get tired and I had to step back. After the fight, they gave him the split decision. I was like, what the? The fans were booing. I mean, I thought I won the fight.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't even know you had fought him until I was looking at your record. I believe last night, and I was like, "What? I don't remember that fight going on." But that was early in your guys' career. And like you said, you didn't lose again for several fights thereafter. You were beating guys like Ahmed Santos, who was a pretty tough little guy from fighting out of the Phoenix area from Mexico. Hector Quiroz, another guy who you fought.
The guy I beat before Ahmed Santos.
Yeah.
The guy, his name was Jose Luis Cruz. That guy, before I met Santos, that was the title eliminator. I stopped the guy in the first, I knocked him on the first round. That guy was undefeated with almost all of them by knockout, and he was a Mexican Olympian, former Olympian fighter.
He even fought Corey Spinks, who they were trying to hype up because of his last name and his roots. And he actually did very good after your fight, after that loss. He started coming up a little bit too. Emmanuel Augustus, another tough fighter who we'd always saw on ESPN, and Ivan Robinson even. You won him by KO. What do you remember about that fight with Ivan Robinson?
Oh man, that was a beautiful fight. That was a great fight. I had a great training camp for that fight. I mean, I was in shape. I was ready. I was focused. I think it was my first fight on HBO. I'm not sure if it was one of my first fights. I think it was my first fight on HBO. It was on the undercard of Fernando Vargas and Ike Corte. And I remember I was a cool main event, so I was pumped, and not only that, but I thought that fight was April 15th of 2000.
I was there in Vegas for Vargas and Corte.
Yeah, that was my father's birthday, so It made it nicer. Took my parents over for her birthday, and it was great.
After that fight, man, you just continued and you beat Omar Ruiz, who got a name there afterwards, and also Mickey Ward, who they even have a movie about, and um, and you got those victories too. What do you remember about fighting the next guy up, Sugar Shane Mosley, who was dominating and had beat Oscar earlier that year?
Yeah, you know what that part right there. I mean, all through my career, I think I was wrongly managed, or I was moved wrong, or else would have been a great superstar. When I fought Mickey Ward, I remember I fought Mickey Ward. When I beat him, as I was walking out of the ring, Cameron Duncan was my manager. I remember walking out of the ring and going towards the dressing room. Cameron Duncan comes, puts his hand around my neck. He hugs me and tells me, "Great job, kid. How do you feel? Your life has just changed." I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Your life just changed with this victory." I go, "Oh, well, what do you mean?" He goes, "We got big plans for you, big things." All right. I was like, "Oh, cool." He goes, "I'm not going to get excited until I see it." Back then, the big name fighter I wanted to fight back then was Costa Zoo. I knew I could beat Costa Zoo. So then I get home after the fight. We celebrate. Everything was great. We get a call from Top Rank to go to the office that they had a fight for me, a fight deal. All right, so we went to Vegas. They were there, and we went to the office, and we sat down with Bob Arum. We sat down with Cameron Duncan, and they told me, "Hey, we have two offers to fight. Both are for the WBC." Oh shit! Well, that's about time I was wanted. So they tell me we have an opportunity to fight Costa Zoo at 140, or you could fight Shane Mosley at 147. I was like, "Hey, but I'm a 140-pound fighter. I'm not 147. I want Costa Zoo." He tells me, "But the difference is, if you fight Costa Zoo, you gotta go to Russia, and they're paying you 50 grand." I was like, "What the fuck? So for Costa Zoo, I made more money on my last fight than I did the for the title fight." But that's all they're offering, 50 grand. Then they tell me, or you can fight Shane Mosley at 147, and they're paying you 400 grand. I'm like, "Man, but 147 is not my weight. I want Costa Zoo. I want to fight him." So then Bob Arum turns around and tells me, Bob and Cameron, they go, "Hey, why don't you do this? Let's go for Costa Zoo, make the money. If we lose to Costa Zoo, we can always come back and say that was in our weight class. We're gonna go back down to 47, to 140, and we'll look for Costa Zoo again." So I said, "Okay, well, it's a done deal." So sure enough, we went, we fought. I mean, we got stopped in the 6th round. Came back. After I came back, they never answered our calls anymore. They wouldn't answer my calls. Then they started giving me little fights here and there. I was like, "Are you serious? Like, you made me a promise. Now you don't even answer a phone call. Now you giving me whack-ass fights for chump change."
So after that Mosley fight, would you have taken Costa Zoo for 50 in Russia if they would have offered you that?
Well, of course. I mean, I took it because I wanted to prove that I could have beat Costa Zoo back in the days. I actually wanted to take the fight with Costa Zoo before the Mosley fight.
Wow.
I wanted to take the fight because I wanted to prove. I said, "Okay, I go fight Costa, beat it. I knock him out because Costa Zoo was easy to get knocked out. He didn't have a chin. He had power. He was doing awkward, but you hit him, he went down. So I knew I could knock him out. So then they're the ones that told me, let's fight at 147, get the money there, and if we don't win, we can always come back." So I said, "All right, I follow the plan." But after I followed the plan, they never followed the plan they wanted.
Oh, so they never kept the word, man. That asked you out of they asked you out of a nice fight there and a nice paycheck too, huh?
Oh yeah, and then after I came back, I fought in Central California. Then I fought in Arizona. Then I fought some other place, and then when I got married, I go on my honeymoon. Come back from my honeymoon and said, "Oh, you're fighting Antonio Margarito." I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "All right."
Antonio Margarito, every time somebody throws out his name, there's a lot of questions there. Did you ever have a question about your fight with him and how they say that he was probably doing that whole gloves thing for many years? Did you ever think like that?
I knew for a fact that I could put it down on anything that when I fought him, he was wearing that plastic shit. And I guarantee it, I put my life on the line that he had it. Because if you look at the fight, the first rounds, I was dominating easy. I mean, he was hitting me, I was taking the punch like nothing. I wasn't getting bruised. After the 7th round, I could tell the difference of the punch. Every time he hit, it felt like I was getting hit with a rock or something hard. I was like, "Man, what the fuck?" I was like, "These guys, all of a sudden, right?" So In the 8th round, he shut my whole face. He closed my eyes with everything with a couple punches. The same thing he did to Miguel Cotto. Next round, the same. The punches were feeling harder, like harder and stronger. Like, man, this guy's not getting stronger and stronger. Like, what the fuck? So.
Well, that would be the plaster hardening as the rounds went from the sweat.
After so many rounds, the sweat and everything hardens the plaster. So what happens after the 10th round? My brother starts to fight. Okay, his cornerman comes and tells my brother, hey, that was a good stoppage because the more the fight goes, the stronger Margarito gets. The stronger Margarito gets, the stronger his fucking hands get. So finally, after I see that Cotto fight and I see what happened to Cotto, I put myself in a position. I'm mad. I go, the same thing happened to me. Same thing. And then I started thinking, he got caught doing plaster fighting Shane Mosley. He was the main event. He was a big superstar. It was a humongous fight. So they start thinking about like, okay, if he dared to do that in a fight where all eyes are on you, what makes you think he didn't do it on a fight where he was just the undercard? The attention was not on him.
That's true, man. That's true.
You know what I mean? He dared to do it on a big fight with Mosley where, although the hype, it was a mega fight back in the days. What makes you think he didn't do it on little undercard fights where all the attention was the other guys and you were just like the undercard? Of course.
Absolutely, and a lot of people do accuse him, and that's why I wanted to ask you, because I know a lot of people do talk about that.
Yes, the only thing I did not like is the kind of punishment they gave him. They fined him with $100,000. They suspended him for a year. But yeah, he came back and fought a $3 or $5 million fight with Pacquiao. What kind of punishment was that?
Yeah, that was a reward, if anything, and then he got a rematch with Cotto, too.
Exactly. Another couple million. It's like, dude, you serious? Kill somebody. He endangered the lives of a lot of fighters. Jimmy Resto and Pat Maluz got banned from boxing.
He went to jail.
He got banned for so many years because of what they did. And this guy gets rewarded with like $5-6 million after that fight.
Felix Flores down the line, you fight a tough up-and-comer Felix Flores. You also fought another one, Victor Ortiz. What do you remember about that fight with Victor Ortiz?
Victor Ortiz, man, it was a tough fight. When I fought Felix Flores, I had stopped for like 3 years. Then I came back, and I was weighing like 210 pounds. And when I fought Felix Flores, I started working like months before. And then I went down to like 160, and then they got me that fight at 152. So I fought at 152, and then after that fight, I started going down to 47, 150, and then 47. Then I fought a kid by the name of Castro, Jorge Castro, pretty tough kid. I fought him at 143, 144, and it was tough because I was from 210. I had been fighting at 147, 150, 147, 150, and I was like, at 142, 144. When I fought Victor Ortiz, I fought him at 142. And I was dying to make that weight, and I finally made it. I said, this will be my step up to some bigger fight. But unfortunately, I'm fighting Victor, and I heard him, and when I heard him, I'm trying my hands, trying to go forward, and he hits me right in the chin, and I go to the ground. As I get up, we start fighting, and then I step forward. He throws a side, like a little hook jab, like a straight jab, a little hook sideways, and he slashed my eyebrow and it was pretty big gash, and my corner started the fight. They didn't want to let me go.
And yesterday I got the chance to ask a guy by the name of Ernesto Baby Cepeda, about who you fought in your very last fight. It was his last fight. I asked him about your guys' fight together, and he said something like, I remember him being very strong and very aggressive, and we both had our last fight together. What do you remember about that last fight with Ernesto Baby Cepeda?
Yeah, Cepeda, it was my last fight. I had announced it was my farewell fight here in my hometown in Spanish Springs, where I started my career. And then, I remember him coming. I remember him fighting my brother Julio a while back. And so, but he got bigger. He was also strong. He had his moments. I had my moments, and I had to come on strong and let my hands go because it was my hometown. I wanted to please my fans, And yeah, I think I stopped him in the 8th or 9th round.
And like we said, it was your last fight. At what point did you say to yourself, "All right, this is the end"? Did something happen, or why did you decide to stop fighting at that time?
After the Victor Ortiz fight, I took like a couple years. I wasn't fighting. I was very tired of the running, the training. My elbows were hurting. My knees were already hurting from the run. I was already tired of the diet. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna do it one more time. Just to my farewell fight. So That's why I took the fight with him with Cepeda. And in between, there was times in between my training camps, I was like, man, why did I do this shit? Why did I take this fight, man? It's like, my body was already tired. My elbows were already hurting. My knees to go run. I remember I took we were counting the miles we were running and everything. I think that training camp I did 8 weeks. In 8 weeks, I ran 258 miles just for that fight. I went from 180 something, 189, 85 to 149.
And just some random boxing questions. You brought up how the weight issues and how it's hard for a boxer to go down all these different pounds before a month's fight or whatever it might be. What do you think about the whole same day weigh in and next day weigh in? Is there a difference? Would you prefer one over the other?
It's a big difference. It's a big difference because I mean it is tougher. The amateur, well, they do that. That's why amateur fighters they fight at a higher weight class than the normal weight class is supposed to be at. You know, you see these fight like for example, let's take Timothy Bradley. Timothy Bradley was fighting at 152 in the amateur, 147, 152. He came back, made his pro debut at 140. He became world champion at 140. It's because in the amateurs you have to maintain your weight always. You fight the same day. You cannot starve yourself the way you do in the amateurs. I mean the pros, and then try to recuperate that quick. Especially when you have tournaments, 3, 4, 5 day tournaments, you have to maintain the weight for 3, 4 days, 5 days.
Right now, at the moment, you're working with amateurs. What do you say about the amateur scene at the moment? A lot of people seem to be in a rush to become pros so they can make a paycheck, as opposed to staying amateur like they used to years ago and having several amateur fights to give them a stronger foundation when they do go into the pros. What do you think about amateurs, and when do you think is about the time to turn from amateur to pro? I'm sure everybody's different, but what do you think about that?
I think the wrong time for an amateur to go pro is at 19, 19, 19 and a half. That's good because your body's very mature. But a lot of kids want to go pro quick right now because the amateur business right now is dirty. It's dirty. I mean, I've been an amateur coach for a while. I've been seeing a lot of things, been seeing things where fighters win fights, but they don't get on the fights. I mean, it's an obvious win, but they don't give it to you because the officials know the mother of the opponent you're fighting, or the opponent comes and hugs you and kisses you all the time and says hi to you. It's like there's a lot of favoritism in the amateur sport. It's very. I mean, I already learned how to just put up with it. There's been a couple of times that I've taken my fighters to train, tell me to fight, and they win clearly, but they don't get the decision. I'm like, what are these guys looking at? These kids work very hard. They work very hard to capture a national title or to do something, but then they don't get the decision because you don't know the officials the way the opponent's mother or father or you know.
Yeah, it seems like uncles and stuff are becoming judges now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know many of them. I know many of them that their uncles are officials, their aunts, their mothers are top officials. They talk to all these people in USA boxing, and that's what it is. I mean, it's crazy. It's not like it was before.
So, what are you doing right now with your amateurs there in your local area? How are you seeing that scene at the moment?
Well, we have a lot of amateur fighters. We're training. We're taking them to competition, give them the experience, and I have a couple that already went from amateurs and they're already pro. I have two of them that my first two fighters that I started from ground zero, from the ground, from the beginning, and they already went pro. One of them is 3-0. Actually, both of them are 3-0.
And that area, Coachella, Indio area, it's been around for years. You guys have been having fights over there in that area for years. But it seems like now recently you guys are getting a lot of big names, especially with Golden Boy having shows over there a lot. And also even the Riverside area, even Oxnard had Robert Garcia's gym. Now even he left this gym here and he's over in the Riverside area, and he has a lot of fights over in the Indio area. How do you feel about the whole boxing scene from how you guys first started out there? You guys were the big names over there, the Diaz boys, and now what it's like to today. Do you guys feel that little something that you guys did pick up that name or boxing through your guys' name there in that area?
I really think so. I feel proud of our career. The Diaz brothers, Diaz family, brought the sport of boxing to the Coachella Valley. We have been here, like you said. The Golden Boy has been making a lot more fights here in the Valley. Big names are training out here now. You know, especially with us in the gym. Well, we're training a lot of professional fighters, big names like we got Felix Diaz, we got Diego De La Hoya, we've had Ruzan Pavanikov here. We have a lot of top contenders, prospects coming up also. We have Lucas Matisse coming in pretty soon. We have a lot of name fighters that are already training here with us, and it's all because of the good work we did, when we were younger, and also by Golden Boy putting up all these fights here in the Valley that's making the Valley like a boxing scene out here.
Every time I brought up one of your guys' names, whether it be Julio or Joel or you, to people that would say those damn tough desert guys, and that's how they refer to you guys. To all, I call it three big F's: your friends, your fans, your family. How do you want to be remembered once it's all said and done? How do you want people to remember when they think of the name Antonio Diaz or any of the Diaz brothers, but especially your name, Antonio Diaz? How do you want to be remembered in the sport?
As a humble warrior. I want to be known as a humble warrior. I'm a humble person, very humble with people, with family, with everybody. But when I go in the ring, when I was going in the ring, I became a warrior.
And you were that, and you've always been humble, and you've always been very approachable. And I thank you very much for that, and I thank you very much for coming on theboxingbar.com for this interview, my friend. And I thank you very much, man.
Thank you for the opportunity.